This is a less common method of preparing crispy skinned pork. It's quite simple, but you do need to start the night before. I've tried many methods over the years, but this one produces the best results in terms of the pork being soft and the skin being extremely crispy.
So what we have here is a slice of pork belly. You can see this is the bones are going across this way. You want something that doesn't have like this ridiculous huge amount of fat here, in my opinion. You know, everybody has their own ideas, but I like it with just about this amount of fat on it, so that you don't end up with this big squishy mess in it. But some people like it that way. I can tell you Russians do not like it that way. So the first step, just to make this a little bit easier here, is to cut it across. So now what we need to do is score the skin. And you're going to need a really sharp knife for this. And you don't want to cut all the way down. You don't cut it all the way down to the meat. You just want to make some good cuts into the skin itself. And like I said, you need a really sharp knife for this. And when you've gone in this direction, you turn around and you start going in that direction. Now, once you have them scored, you sprinkle them fairly liberally with baking soda. And massage it in, get it into all the cuts that you made there. If a little bit gets on the meat, it's okay, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of that the next morning. But the important part here is you want a lot of baking soda on the fat on the skin side. Now, I'm doing this at night, by the way. This is going to go in the refrigerator, no cover over it. You want the action of the refrigerator to help dry out the skin and bring the moisture out from it. So this is going to go in the refrigerator overnight now. This is the next morning now. Now I'm going to take the pork. Usually I would do this over a sink, but the sink doesn't have very good lighting. This is apple cider vinegar. We want to neutralize, if you can hear the fizzing there, we want to neutralize the baking soda and dry it off. Then, same thing on the other piece. Get a little bit more vinegar, make sure that it's absolutely neutralized. And again, if it gets a little bit of vinegar on the meat, it's okay. It's going to be just fine, because after this cooking time, it can be anything left of it anyway. Okay, so here's the same dish that I had overnight in the refrigerator. All I'm going to do now is I'm just turning these pieces over so that they're skin side down. Then we take baking paper like this, parchment, and just put over the top, just like this. Don't use foil. And we're not trying to seal it. It's going to have plenty of room around the edge. We're just shielding the top from the heat of the oven mostly. We want to restrict the amount of moisture that can evaporate, but not eliminate it. So that's why I use baking paper or parchment paper in this case. Now this goes into the oven for an hour and a half, as explained in the text there. Now, after that hour and a half, don't worry about if the parchment is shifted a little, that won't be a problem. Turn the meat over. Now, you may have a problem with a dish like this with it wanting to fall over. Here's your solution. Get a potato and put down in here. Okay, found a good position. The potato's down in this corner, skin side is up. It doesn't matter if they're touching here. And then this is going to go in the oven for the final time with the broiler. I've repositioned the shelf and I've increased the temperature. And then here's what it looks like coming out of the oven. You can see it's very, very crisp.
I'm very pleased to announce the release of Volume 3, The Focus on Food Chemistry. I want to clear up a few things about these 3 volumes. First, they all contain completely different information. There's no duplication, they're not revisions. When I wrote Volume 1, I had 2.5 years of YouTube videos to cover. People had been asking me for the printed list of ingredients for all of those dishes, and so I obliged. There are recipes with stepwise directions and many tips offered throughout, as well as an extensive history of Russian cuisine over the last 1,000 years, but Volume 1 is very different from Volume 2 and 3. In Volumes 2 and 3, I only had about 9 months of YouTube recipes to cover in each, so I was able to provide stepwise directions for everything. In Volume 2, I included a lot of additional information about cooking and some simple examples of flavor chemistry to set the stage for Volume 3. While Volume 2 hopefully got you thinking about some of the processes that go on in cooking and how flavors are expressed and sensed at the molecular level, the topic was painted with pretty broad strokes to make it easy to digest, pun intended. Volume 3 is a milestone of the series, in which I have included an entire introductory course in food chemistry, which is why Volume 3 is about 70 pages longer than Volume 2. And if you just want the recipes, that's okay too. You don't have to read the first few chapters, but if you've ever been curious about what influences tastes and flavors and the rationale for deciding cooking times and temperatures and why things taste different when they're combined in different ways, this book will answer many of those questions. It also paves the way for Volume 4, which will be next year. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link.
Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.